Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'll be discussing the battery performance on my Xiaomi Redmi Note 3. Now this is the Snapdragon 650 version along with 3 gigs of RAM. The phone recently received MIUI 8 update, so I thought let me put my SIM back in and let's have a look and see if the battery life has been affected. Now before we check the battery stats, let's quickly have a look and see which version of Android and MIUI we are running. So settings, about phone, and let me bring the phone close to the camera. As you guys can see, it's running MIUI 8.0.1. This is, by the way, the Chinese ROM, the stable version. Also you have Lollipop still running on the phone, 5.1.1, which is, to be honest, quite shocking and surprising at the same time. By now I would have expected Xiaomi to release at least Marshmallow for the phone, and fingers crossed, even though I'm hearing news about them releasing Marshmallow very soon, but they're already far too behind because, as we know, Nougat 7.0 is out already. So it's a bit surprising and also a bit disappointing to see that they're still running 5.1.1 on this phone. However, still Android is pretty much stable, apart from a few bugs here and there. There's nothing much wrong with the phone. It runs pretty smoothly, pretty fine on a day-to-day basis. Like I said, running the Snapdragon 650 version, as you can see, hexa-core along with 3 gigs of RAM. Okay, so now let's get into the gallery and have a look and see the screenshots that I've taken in the past a couple of days. I've also obviously included the standby times as well. So let's have a look at the very first screenshot here. As you can see, around 1:16 in the morning on 7th of October, I left the phone on standby at 28%, as you can see in the top right corner. And when I checked the phone the next day, in fact the same day, sorry, at 1:37 in the afternoon, it had only lost 1%, so it's down to 27%. So from 28% it went down to 27%. So standby, despite this phone running an older 5.1.1 Lollipop version, it's one of the best standby times I've seen so far from this year and from last year. Phones like, for instance, the Nexus 5 running Nougat 7.0 cannot even compete with the Doze Mode or any other phone for that reason. Okay, so let's go further. This was me testing on Wi-Fi, battery down to 23%, and I was able to squeeze out a total of 6 hours and 46 minutes of screen on time, and the battery was still quite a bit left, nearly 1/3 of the battery still left. So I kept on using it on Wi-Fi. This was purely Wi-Fi, no 4GE and no LTE. By the way, I'm running the 3's UK network in this phone. So if you import this phone from China, if you're in the UK, and if you read about 4G LTE services on the phone, don't be worried, because all the bandwidth that are in the phone are compatible with 3's UK network. So as soon as you put your 3 SIM in, you will get the 4G symbol up straight away, which I will show you later in a screenshot. Okay, anyway, so Wi-Fi on further, battery down to 5% with heavy use. You can see the blue lines showing you exactly what I've done. So been plenty of screen on time, plenty of times the phone has been awake, using Wi-Fi mostly, no 4G LTE. I was able to squeeze out 8 hours and 7 minutes of screen on time. Now this is superb, in fact way above the average and one of the very best in its class. We all know that the phone has got a 4000 huge big milliampere battery, so obviously that will play its role. And because you only have a 5.5 inch 1080p screen, not a Quad HD screen, that's why the battery life is going to be good. But I've seen many phones even with same size battery or even lesser or more, but they still never been able to give us this much of screen on time. This is probably one of the best I have seen so far on any smartphone. So 8 hours and 7 minutes of screen on time on Wi-Fi on the Xiaomi Redmi Note 3 Snapdragon 650 version. By the way, the brightness was kept around 50%. As you guys know, I normally keep it around 50, 60, 70%. I don't go beyond that, but the screen can get really bright. And at night time when I was surfing, as you can see, this was over a day it took me to finish the battery, of 1 day and 17 hours it took me. So this is a very strong phone when it comes to battery life, and it's so difficult and so hard to really drain it down. Anyways, at night time, like I said, I was keeping the brightness around 20-30% because it gets really bright, so keep that in mind as well. So the lower you keep the brightness, the more screen on time you will get. But my usage obviously includes mixed use, both on day time and also in the night time. So I was able to achieve 8 hours and 7 minutes of screen on time. If you're the sort of person who likes to keep its brightness well below 50%, I'm sure you can even squeeze out more screen on time from the phone. Okay, as you can see here, heavily used battery, showing the temperature 34 degrees Celsius and a 4000 milliampere battery capacity on the Redmi Note 3 650. Okay, here again I took standby times down to 76% because the one pickup from before was really outstanding, so I wanted to make sure I take another screenshot to make sure the standby time is still really good. So on the 8th of October, the next day, battery was at 76%, and when I checked it at 1:33 on October the 8th, and it was around 75%. As you can see, it had only lost 1%. Once again, goes to show the standby time on the phone is very good. People running Marshmallow and people running Nougat on their phones, if they're looking at this video, I'm sure they'll be saying they wish they could go back to Lollipop. But it's not down to Lollipop only, it's also down to Xiaomi's optimizations on the MIUI Chinese version. So well done Xiaomi for giving us a good standby time and also a good battery life, and obviously giving us a huge battery inside the phone as well. Okay, then I tested for 4G LTE. As I said to you earlier in the video, I'm using 3's UK network. So if you have a 3 SIM in the UK, if you put that in the phone, you will get 4G straight away, because the band the bands inside the phone are compatible with 3's UK network. Okay, again, as you can see, 4G LTE, battery down to 49%, and no Wi-Fi, as the graph shows very clearly. The annoying bug that you see on the newer versions of Android is not there, when the graph keeps on showing you all the way across when you're not been using Wi-Fi, and here on Lollipop you're not seeing that. So I was able to achieve 3 hours and 18 minutes of screen on time with battery down to 49% with my regular use, like as you can see, YouTubing, Instagramming, social media, Twitter, Google+, all the bits and bobs, lots of typing and lots of email checking and everything else as well. So I was able to achieve, like I said, 3 hours and 18 minutes of screen on time with battery down to 49%. Going further down, showing you obviously the battery temperature, again very stable in the mid 20s or the early 30s, so not too bad. Again, battery down to 4%. I kept on using it further, same on 4G LTE, without using any Wi-Fi, my normal regular stuff, YouTubing, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, everything else. And in the end, after using it pretty much for 2 days and 19 hours, I kept the phone, didn't use the phone as aggressively as I would like in a day to finish off, because when you get 3 hours of screen on time from phone with battery down to 50% or 49%, it's difficult to keep using the phone because you get annoyed. And I'm going to be honest to you, I found it very hard to actually drain the battery on this phone, and the legendary status of the battery of this phone from months ago when I reviewed it is still the same. Even with MIUI 8 running 8.0.1, still the battery is superb, no issues. And the end, I was able to achieve on 4G 5 hours and 57 minutes of screen on time, which is again superb and way above even the Wi-Fi stats of flagship these days, let alone 4G LTE. Okay, then again, showing you again the temperature again in the mid 30s, early 30s, late 20s, which is fine enough. It's a very good, decent temperature for the battery, so not too bad. The one thing which I would say I would go against the Xiaomi's battery is the actually charging time. In fact, just a little while ago, I put it on charge when the battery was down to 3%, as you can see in the top corner here. Let me bring the phone close to the camera. As you can see here, down to 3% at 6:39, and when I checked it at around 92%, it took just over 2 hours. So this is 6:39 and this is 8:46. So just over 2 hours, it was able to go from 3% to 92%. That means it would have taken approximately 2.5 hours to charge the phone fully. This is, to my standards, are pretty slow, even though it has a Snapdragon 650, but the phone doesn't support Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0. I used a 3.0 adapter. I think the phone only supports Quick Charge 2.0. So keeping the standards in mind, I think is pretty okay, but keep that in mind please, because the bigger the battery you have, the more time it will take to charge the phone, because it will last you for a whole day. So I'm sure most people with battery charging won't have much of an issue. So this is me, guys, running the Xiaomi Redmi Note 3 on MIUI 8, the China ROM. I'm looking to flash the ROM probably to the global or the international version, and then I'll probably come back again with another battery stats with me, and we'll see if the international and the global ROM on the MIUI 8 can return us the same kind of screen on times. And also let's hope that Xiaomi can update the phone to at least Marshmallow and not Lollipop, because that's really embarrassing in 2016 to be running a phone with only Lollipop 5.1.1. Guys, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. Any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comment section, and like always, please subscribe as it helps, and I shall see you in the next video.